people are aware of class. To them, society is made up of the rich, the middle, and the poor.
The one thing that all three classes don't understand is that the pyramid continues upward. There is a detached hidden capstone made up of an elite board of directors who own and manage ILLUMICORP. The three classes below, in essence, become the assets and resources of ILLUMICORP. ILLUMICORP is divided into various administrative branches, but each branch has the same 5 levels in their hierarchy. You will begin at the bottom, in the Initiate category. As such, your role will be to make sure that your orders are carried out through the sub-corporations and institutions controlled by ILLUMICORP.
You will be placed in plain sight, at the head of a company or institution in the public sector, to carry out the plans delivered from above. Remember, your role is very important. You will be the face of ILLUMICORP to the outside world. You are our connection to the masses below. Never speak publicly about your orders or your masters. Now let's look at ILLUMICORP's 6 administrative branches and their functions. You will be placed in a top position of power among one of the following sectors. In this way, as you are monitored and guided from above, you will decide strategy and introduce programs that further our goals. For that is the secret to ILLUMICORP's success. Control the head, and you control the body. This is potentially ILLUMICORP's most effective instrument for global control. Through international banking, we manipulate the fate of all countries. We have introduced many institutions, such as the IMF and WTO, that work in our favor to impoverish disobedient nations. Always remember, debt is a powerful weapon against countries that don't share ILLUMICORP's vision.
Perhaps our greatest achievement in banking is the Federal Reserve System. It is a collection of international banks owned by ILLUMICORP members and financiers. It was created to form a centralized banking system through the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, an act that was indeed penned by some of our most esteemed members. Many of you might still assume that the government itself prints and issues the currency. That is not the case. When America needs money, they go to our boys and ask for it. The money is printed, but it is only representative of a loan. Interest accrues on that dollar until it is paid back to the Fed. In fact, the federal taxes paid by the American population go almost entirely to paying off this debt. So you see, ILLUMICORP derives a healthy amount of its operation funding directly from the debt of the public. Needless to say, this is one of our most crucial sources of funding, and one of our proudest achievements here at ILLUMICORP. Through mergers and acquisitions, we have slowly and silently bought up the majority of U.S. industry. ILLUMICORP and its members own most of the oil, transport, banking, media, food and communications industries in America and abroad. Through fewer and fewer conglomerates, we are able to effect with great precision the machinations of labor and government.
Many authors believe that the reptilian Anunnaki warriors of ancient Sumeria, who invaded the Caucasus Mountains, have secretly continued to control mankind via the worldwide network of secret societies which are loosely described as the Illuminati. International network of secret societies to honor and control the government and military officials who work on secret projects for the elite. In fact, the oldest secret society known to mankind was formed in ancient Babylon and is called the Brotherhood of the Snake. The ruling elite of ancient Egypt fashioned their bodies so that they resembled aliens. All over ancient Egypt, serpents, snakes, and reptiles are associated with kingship and power over the human population. New kings had their bodies massaged with a special potion which contained crocodile fat. This was a worldwide cult of the crocodile, a reptilian species which has kept its original form since before dinosaurs walked on land. The crocodile is pictured alongside the Wangina creator spirits of Western Australia. Reptiles have always been associated with a race of hidden masters. Many occult traditions which are related to the birth of Freemasonry speak of the hidden masters. Some occult historians and authors claim that a group of hidden masters control world international Freemasonry. Ancient Masonic texts suggest that these hidden masters are in actual fact alien spirits from another world. Some Masonic texts say that the secrets of how to control and influence society and politics from behind the scenes was passed to the elite of Freemasonry from a race of reptilian aliens who invaded planet Earth and landed in ancient Iraq more than 12,500 years ago. Professor John Mack of Harvard University made a detailed study of people who claimed they had been abducted by aliens. In his book, John Mack studied abductees who said that the grey alien is actually a genetically engineered reptilian who invade planet Earth on a regular basis and collect human DNA as part of a plan to breed an alien-human hybrid race who will serve an extraterrestrial elite. According to Colonel Philip J. Corso, back-engineered alien technology is a jealously guarded secret by the rulers of mankind. Regardless of whether the Apollo moon landing was faked or not, an interesting photograph hangs on the wall of the Sanctuary of the Scottish Rite Masons in Washington, D.C. This photograph shows astronaut Neil Armstrong holding a Masonic apron over his spacesuit. The photograph has seemingly been taken on the moon, or at least on a studio set which resembles the surface of the moon. Neil Armstrong has become a mysterious character since his alleged moon expedition. According to the records of the Ohio Grand Lodge of Masons, Neil Armstrong's father is a Freemason. In fact, Neil Armstrong Sr. is a high-ranking 33rd degree Freemason. Neil Armstrong's co-pilot, the second man to have allegedly walked on the moon, was Buzz Aldrin. At the time of the Apollo 11 mission, Buzz Aldrin was a 32 degree Freemason. They were in good company, as many of NASA's astronauts were also Freemasons, including Gordon Cooper, Walter Schirra, John Glenn, Edgar Mitchell, Thomas Stafford, and Paul Weitz. These men were all members of the Brotherhood, all sworn to keep secrets on pain of death. These astronaut Masons were under the leadership of Kenneth Kleineknecht, who was NASA's Apollo space program manager. According to an article and photograph published in the Masonic magazine Scottish Rite Journal, upon his return from the moon, Brother Buzz Aldrin presented a flag to Sovereign Grand Commander Smith, who was the Supreme Commander of the Supreme Council of 33rd degree Masons of the world. The flag Buzz Aldrin presented had been taken to the moon on Apollo 11. According to a Masonic lecture delivered at Beauverde University in 1994 by American Masonic historians, astronauts Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong performed a Masonic ritual exactly 33 minutes after touchdown on the lunar surface. They temporarily planted the international flag of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which features a large double-headed eagle. Therefore, the eagle has landed. The short Masonic ritual Armstrong and Aldrin allegedly performed declared the celestial body of the moon to be the property of the Masonic God. Who is the Masonic God? As confirmed by former Supreme Commander of the 33rd degree and Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, Albert Pike, the Masonic God is Lucifer. The name of NASA's space program, Apollo, according to the Holy Bible, is actually an alternative word for the devil. We can see this in the Bible as the word Apollyon. Apollyon appears as the name of Satan in the original texts of the New Testament Gospels. Like Christopher Columbus and many explorers before them, Armstrong and Aldrin used a flag to claim territory for their monarch. Upon their return, NASA Space Program Manager Kenneth Kleineknecht invited the Apollo crew to a secret Masonic ceremony, which saw Kleineknecht's brother be appointed to the Sovereign Grand Commander and titular head of all Scottish Rite Masons throughout the world. Once you learn the occult significance of words such as Apollo, Columbia, and Atlantis, you will realize that the occultically inspired murdering Nazis who developed NASA's space program have used names which are part of ritual, magic, and the occult. On the dark side of the moon, the secret face of our satellite planet, which only a few men in living history have ever seen, there lies a star-shaped crater called Parsons Crater, named after the rocket scientist John Parsons. John Parsons is known by several names. He was born under the name Marvel Whiteside Parsons, and soon became involved in the occult. Charles Taze Russell, who invented the Jehovah's Witness movement in America, predicted that the beginning of the end of the world would commence on October 2nd, 1914. On this very day, rocket scientist John Parsons, better known in occult circles as Jack Parsons, was born. A brilliant rocket engineer, Parsons soon entered into correspondence with SS Nazi officer Werner von Braun, and by the age of 13 had begun summoning evil spirits and demons using magical rituals which Parsons had learnt from British occultist Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley styled himself as the Beast, and Jack Parsons referred to Aleister Crowley as his father. Grand Master of the Priory de Sion, Jules Verne, had written several books which strongly influenced the mind of the young Jack Parsons. In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne prophesied the invention of a submarine vehicle which could wage war from the depths of the oceans. In newspaper reports read by the young Jack Parsons, he saw German U-boats launching futuristic torpedoes, travelling under the sea and causing death and chaos. Young Jack Parsons wrote in his journal that if the French author Jules Verne's submarine was a tangible possibility, then why not the rocket ship which travelled to the moon and back in Verne's other books? For most of Jack Parsons' adult years, he was an adept of occultism and a distant disciple of Aleister Crowley. When Crowley visited California and gave the go-ahead to form a new chapter of his OTO Satanic Secret Society, it was Pasadena, the hometown of Parsons, which was chosen. Jack Parsons developed and patented several liquid and solid fuel rocket engines. His patented designs are still being used to this day on intercontinental ballistic missiles such as Polaris and the Space Shuttle. The Polaris nuclear missiles use Parsons rocket technology, which has a pentagram-shaped void impressed into the solid rocket fuel to aid faster burning. Parsons also patented an acid aniline mix, which was used on the first generation of Titan nuclear missiles, used to deliver deadly warheads and also used for high-level atmospheric tests. Coincidentally, Jack Parsons' occult mentor, the British beast Aleister Crowley, used to often call himself the nickname Titan. On April 15th, 1942, Parsons demonstrated a plane powered by two liquid fuel rocket boosters at Edwards Air Force Base. The test was witnessed by Alfred Ledding, who fronted the US military's Project Sign, which investigated UFOs and helped cover up the phenomenon for decades. Jack Parsons revered the English Satanist Aleister Crowley, and eventually became the leader of one of Crowley's secret cults called the OTO. The OTO, or Ordo Templi Orientalis, claims descent from the Bavarian Illuminati, which had been revived by Adam Spartacus Weishaupt on May 1st, 1776, and had approximately 2,000 members in Masonic lodges in London, Paris, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Munich, and Ingolstadt. The Illuminati was essentially controlled by European Germanic Jewish aristocrats, who sought to replace the church, government system, and national identity of nations with an Illuminati-controlled superstate. The Illuminati was eventually outlawed in Europe, and the founders fled to America. They then fragmented their maverick secret society into fraternities operating from the campuses of Yale, Harvard, and Princeton. From his pulpit in Brooklyn, New York, charlatan priest Charles Taze Russell prophesied that from October the 2nd, 1914, the beginning of the end of humanity would commence, with the emergence of the Antichrist and Babylon the Great, as foretold in the Bible's Book of Revelation. Jack Parsons, born on that prophetic day, would later attempt to invoke the incarnation of Babylon and also sign an oath stating that he was indeed the Antichrist. "3,500 years ago, during the reign of King Thutmose III, ancient Egypt was invaded by spherical UFOs which were described as circles of fire. According to ancient papyrus, these spherical UFOs filled the sky for several days. In his fascinating book, British author Matthew Deleuze shows photos of strange alien reptiles, some with the bodies of apes and heads of lizards. These can be found on the walls of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera in Egypt. Here we see reptilian humanoid creatures alongside pharaohs and bird-headed beings. Like the Antikythera mechanism from ancient Greece and the Baghdad battery, this plasma technology was a closely guarded secret technology reserved for the use of the elite in ancient Egypt. Just as we see today, the royal political elite have secret underground bases harboring secret stealth technology and flying saucer type craft. More ancient than the Mayan kingdoms of Central America, older than ancient Greece, and predating the pharaonic dynasties of Egypt, the Sumerian Empire was formed more than 6,000 years ago, stretching from the Indus Valley region in Pakistan to the capital called Uruk. Sumeria is known as the cradle of civilization. It was here that white-skinned peoples from the Caucasus Mountains spread a worldwide cult of blood ritual and magic to the rest of the world.
Hayat Nebbet, Enenet Nebbet, Jedefuet F. Awet F. Haset, Semahu and Sanut.
Two authors, Zechariah Sitchin and the British genius John Marco Allegro, who translated large parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls, studied ancient Sumerian clay tablets, which were discovered at Nineveh in the 1800s. These clay tablets told the history of the Sumerian Empire, an empire which was formed by invading aliens called the Anunnaki. Sumer's original name was Ki-en-Gir, which means the land of the kings with blazing rockets. The Sumerian clay tablets describe the Anunnaki aliens genetically manipulating mankind and creating a hybrid race of alien reptilian humans who became known as the Nephilim. The Nephilim are also known as the Elohim in the Bible. This was a genetically created race of rulers which had their human DNA mixed with that of the invading Anunnaki aliens. References to this race of alien hybrid rulers can be found in ancient texts from around the planet. The hybrid alien-human rulers became known as the Zazumin, Rephaim, and the Anakim. The world's most famous author on the subjects of the occult and human consciousness is David Icke. In his books, The Biggest Secret and Tales from the Time Loop, David Icke reports that blood sacrifice was an important part of ancient cultures in Babylon and also in Central America. In the legends of Babylon, the kingdom of ancient Iraq, which supplanted Sumeria, the drinking of human blood and the sacrifice of children was performed to please the alien gods who had invaded from the stars. The ancient ruling elite believed that drinking human blood allowed them to absorb human DNA from their ancestors. The Vatican continues this ancient blood-drinking ritual to this day with the symbolic drinking of the blood of Christ. David Icke claims blood-drinking rituals have been performed by members of the royal political elite throughout history. The archaeological record tells us that alien beings have invaded planet Earth many, many times. All over the United States, ancient oral traditions of sky gods, or aliens, persist. At conferences organized by American shamans, legends of aliens who gave mankind knowledge of genetics are spoken about openly. shaman elders speak of beings from the stars called the Bacti, who invaded planet Earth before even dinosaurs existed. Right at the point when planet Earth was just forming. The Hopi shaman elders make little dolls which represent spirits of their elders and spirits of the earth. They also make dolls which represent the spirits of the star gods. These dolls are called kachinas. According to shaman legends, the ancient Bacti genetically manipulated animals and created mankind. The Bacti aliens told early man that they were here to control the development of civilization, and that there were many other aliens who wanted to invade planet Earth. According to American shamans, the Bacti aliens have been known both as gods and devils throughout the evolution of man. Shamans teach that the Bacti are gods of the stars who have often destroyed evidence of man's real history in order to keep mankind ignorant and controllable. The oral traditions of the North American Indians teach us that the Bacti star gods eventually lost control of planet Earth to another race of aliens, who were vicious reptiles with faces of dragons. The Temple of Hathor at Dendera in Egypt is dedicated to a deity who had dominion over our Milky Way galaxy. Scientists and astronomers now agree that there could be as many as 50,000 planets in our own Milky Way galaxy which can support intelligent life. On the ceiling of the temple, giant carvings depict star constellations, and on the walls, reptilian humanoid aliens are standing beside technological devices. Lizards can be clearly seen standing upright alongside the royal elite of ancient Egypt. Another common feature is the erectile serpent. This emblem is known as the Uranus. All the pharaohs wore cobra-shaped headdress featuring serpents and also vultures. All dinosaurs had reptilian genes. Contrary to what mainstream science teaches, all the dinosaurs did not die out in prehistoric times. They evolved into birds. Modern science has only just confirmed what the royal elite have known for thousands of years, that the reptilian genes of dinosaurs evolved into the various species of birds which we see to this day. Birds are actually avian reptiles, or feathered serpents. Birds share the same reptilian DNA as pterodactyls and biped raptor dinosaurs such as the Tyrannosaurus rex. Images of gods from the stars, symbolized by feathered serpents, can be found all over planet Earth. In ancient Mexico, there was a god king known as Quetzalcoatl. The word Quetzal means bird, and Coatl means serpent. He was the god from the stars who brought civilization and knowledge of the cosmos to the people of Central America. Ancient texts from Yucatan, known as the Chilam Balam, tell us that the first inhabitants of the region were called the Chanas people, which means people of the serpent. They were ruled by a king called Itzamna. The word Itzam means lizard, and he is depicted as being half human and half serpent, just like the reptilian figures seen on the walls of the Temple of Hathor in Egypt. "5,000 years ago, the Olmecs of Central America carved statues of their god kings seated within the protective coils of giant serpents. In these carvings, we see gods holding small buckets, identical to the situlas of ancient Sumeria. These buckets contained the so-called water of life, the genetic material from which the reptilian overlords created modern man as a slave race to serve them. In North America, at Sago Canyon in Utah, we again see erectile serpents flanking star beings. This is the exact same iconography as we find at the Temple of Hathor in Egypt. This suggests that knowledge of a race of reptilian aliens was accepted as fact in the distant past right across planet Earth. Perhaps the most ancient of all Chinese texts is the mysterious Yi King, which describes how humans were genetically modified by a goddess known as Nu Kua. She was a reptilian, whose descendants became the emperors of China. Time and time again, we see rock carvings and ancient texts from all over planet Earth telling us that dragon-like reptilian humanoids invaded planet Earth and genetically created a race of hybrid alien human rulers.
There's a thing out there, and you've read it in Life magazine. You've seen the front cover of the NASA SETI program. I mean, you've seen the big the picture from outer space, and they've talked about $100 million investment, $100 million to invest to find out whether there is extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, they got something going here. You remember War of the Worlds?
The radio broadcast?
Yes, by Orson Welles, 1939.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, we've got something else coming in. They're going to make the announcement that they have discovered extraterrestrial intelligence. And this will frighten the people of the world and say, oh my God, how can we deal with this as a nation? But we can only deal with it as the United Nations. Yes, we're going to have a United Nations, a one-world government. Yeah, it's necessary, they're going to say. It's absolutely necessary. Why?
Tell me.
To defend ourselves from those little green men, from the aliens that are out there. They will make that announcement. And the whole program is phony. It's fixed. It's set up. And you're going to be the patsy unless you understand what's going down and who's doing what To whom?
And if you,
We're running
this
out of time as a nation.
Yeah.
well, this is certainly a tall order. I mean, I used to think that Campus Crusades Jesus 2000 was a bit far-fetched to win the world to Christ, and now I'm hearing all this. This is
Well, they want to win the world for Satan.
Yeah.
They want a Luciferian 2000 program in their initiative.
We're talking about
Right.
the Illuminati, not the Campus Crusade.
What we need to do is incite
Right.
a revelation to avoid a revolution.
And if you think that's far-fetched, just remember that the Soviet Union was put before us in our media, in our television, in our radio, in our newspapers as being an evil empire, a frightening, powerful, evil, militaristic empire.
Who can't even feed its own people.
And now today we find it's like the Wizard of Oz. He comes out from behind the curtain. We find out they've been starving all their life. They can't even grow enough potatoes to make vodka. They have to import the potatoes. They haven't even got a railroad track across their country. They're starving. They have always been starving. They're broke, and the only military materials they had is the stuff that we sent to them that we are not using anymore, shells of rockets, shells of planes, and it's just an evil empire on paper.
Dwayne,
They're starving.
You asked about this Luciferian thing by the year 2000. I was concerned when they sent up the Galileo mission, because they sent up the Galileo mission to explore the planet Jupiter. That went up in 87 or so? Something like that. It's already gone. It's on its way, folks. It's going to Jupiter. It's going to reach the planet by 1995. It's going to circle the planet. And then by 1999, it's going to be drawn into the planet where it will simply explode. What does it have on it? It's got 49 and a quarter pounds of plutonium, enough for, well, let's say 10 hydrogen bombs. What is the atmosphere of Jupiter made up of? Hydrogen. Now, this, if it were to be ignited, would give us a second sun.
Right.
And I thought, my God, the year 2000, a second sun. I said, where have I read that before? Something struck me. I said, wait a minute, Arthur C. Clarke, 2010, Odyssey 2. Went back to the last chapter. Guess what the last chapter's called? Lucifer Rising. And he talks about the ignition of the planet Jupiter by the year 2010. And he said at the very end of the book, and you can read it, go to the library, pick it up, look at it. He said that the NASA space program was interested, Dr. Robert Jethro, I think it was, or Jethro, was interested in this particular thesis for the Galileo mission. So we're talking about a space exploration program that not only is going to go, it went up. That was in 1982. This was sent up 5 years later. It's already on its way. If that thing ignites, it would give us a dual solar system.
So what we're talking about is
and they
two
would
suns.
rename the planet from Jupiter to Lucifer.
Right.
And that's exactly what Arthur C. Clarke talks about in 2010. So we're talking about Lucifer 2000.
There'll be no more nighttime, so there'll be no more opportunity for crime at night. There will be more sun now because you have two suns now in our solar system.
And the increase of the growing system, like the Matanuska Valley north of Anchorage.
And this may sound
Alaska.
pretty far-fetched, but you had better look at the facts. The fact is that this thing is carrying plutonium. It's going to Jupiter, and they know what it's going to do when it does crash. So,
and this NASA SETE program could be used as a vehicle to frighten the people of the planet into surrendering their sovereignty and to accepting a one-world government. And we're talking about a group out here called the Federal Emergency Management Association,
right,
which came in mass when the riots took place. They create chaos, then they create control.
Over the world headquarters in Switzerland of the World Masonic Headquarters for World Freemasonry, over the door is Ordo ab Chao, which is Latin for order out of chaos. And all Freemasons know that term, Ordo ab Chao. Order out of chaos. The concept is to create chaos, create the problems, then while the people are frightened to death of all the crime and everything that seems to be out of control, a riotous situation, the government then moves in with justification. In order to put down this terrible chaos, they must have full power of the military, full obedience of the people to give the government full power to do whatever they want. That's why we're having all over the world wars, riots, bloodshed, famines, all kinds of things happening around the world. It's being manipulated. It's being orchestrated. Not just for Los Angeles.
It's conflict control.
Conflict control.
There's been more wars since the creation of the United Nations than before the creation of the United Nations. More wars since 1945 to 1992 than from the beginning of time through 1945.
Let me explain
and the people who created
point.
the Council, the United Nations, were from the Council on Foreign Relations,
Yes.
including Alger Hiss, the first Secretary General of the United Nations Organizational
Let me
Conference.
just say, when fundamentalists kind of talk about their ideas that kind of parallel to this, they at least have what they consider to be some ray of hope that Christ will come down and save us all, or something like that.
Right.
Do the two of you, individual, whatever, have any kind of hope or anything that you can give us?
The creation of a free world alliance.
A free world alliance.
A free world alliance. That's the creation of many, many, many different nations where individual rights and sovereignty is respected so that we can do our own thing in our own time. I'm talking about laissez-faire. I'm talking about free enterprise.
Sounds like
not corporate
libertarianism.
Socialism like we have right now.
Would it be fair to call you libertarian or not?
I'm an anarcho-capitalist, libertarian, quasi-conservative. I believe in conserving not the status quo, but conserving freedom. And these freedoms that we have are drifting away. They're going through our fingers like water or sand. We've got to grasp hold of the Constitution. We have to use that document or we're going to lose it.
And the problem is education. That's where the real power is in the educating of people. Myself, I'm not looking for anyone to come back, no Messiah to come back to help. I'm not looking to any of this. My belief is that knowledge is the thing that's needed. People need to wake up and discover who is running their government, what the symbols of government mean, what these emblems mean. When they see the national coat of arms, the flags, the emblems, the seals, the symbols, all of these things mean something. Educate yourself. Find out where it came from. That's the only hope I see for the human race, is the human race itself waking up to find out we've been had.
But the oligarchy has, the oligarchy has a Messiah, Lord Maitreya. I call him Lord Betraya, who's wrapped in with the Theosophical Society, wrapped in with all of this Luciferian crap. You go up to little Satan place, Ojai Valley, and I was raised up there in Ojai Valley. You're going to find the Blavatskyites, and you're going to find the Krishnamurti group right next door in the Meditation Mountain. And I believe they're going to try to introduce this Lord Maitreya as the Jesus, the Buddha, as the new Muhammad. He's going to be all things to all people. And they're going to be talking about a global government. And we have to unify. We have to dissolve all of our differences and sort of come into one amalgamated, homogenized group.
Let me also bring out that Adam Weishaupt in his writings talked about if a group wanted to take over the world, and which would be a totally impossible mission. But if they, and incidentally, that's where we get Mission Impossible from, Impossible Mission Force, which, if you remember in the movie, Impossible Mission Force was IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and the Impossible Mission Force is always working for the government, overthrowing kings, rulers, and princes, but of course the government had nothing to do with it. And they were
the bad guys,
yeah,
and the one world oligarchies are the good guys, of course.
Yeah, and then television has been doing this for years. Then they have movies like Get Smart. And in Get Smart, what did you have? You had the two sides, chaos and control. Again, we have ordo ab chaos, chaos and control. That's the way you get control, is by causing chaos.
It's Hegelian politics.
Hegelian dialectics.
The illusionary right, the Nazis, National Socialists, and the communists. Now, the Nazis believed in total government. The communists believed in total government. You say, well, gee, I'm not over there. I'm sort of down the middle, and you're half Nazi, half communist. Adolf Hitler said, basically, National Socialism and Marxism are the same.
Yeah.
He said that on February 5th, 1941.
He said
they're
identical.
the same.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that when you get back to the original symbols and emblems of the secret societies, and you understand, as Adam Weishaupt wrote, which is what I was going to bring out, Adam Weishaupt wrote that the one thing that will bring all nations together, all peoples together, because there's so much differences between races and individuals, but the one thing all individuals will come together for is to save their own hide. So if you can create enough bloodshed, enough violence, enough anarchy, if you can finance, organize, and direct it correctly to cause enough civil unrest and civil law unrest.
How about creating a new world order by creating what? The illusion that there are men from outer space. There won't be simply a war of the world. This is a war that is declared against the world, and that's what they're trying to bring about. If you take a look at the background of George Bush, take a look at the background of Adolf Hitler. Where did he get his money? Senator Prescott Bush was involved as the chief man at Brown Brothers Harriman. Brown Brothers Harriman was involved in the financing of Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler...
So was General Motors, General Electric,
Standard
DuPont,
Oil.
Standard Oil. All of these corporations got to be large corporations because they were financing both sides during the Second World War.